Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now we are joined by Eli, 10th Man. Who else we got? Neil, Refracted Curvature, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning. Hello.
Hello.
And also Arwin. Hello, Arwin. Or maybe not.
Hello, good afternoon.
Welcome back to
Yeah,
YouTube
hello, good
after your short breakaway.
Yeah, I am back. Although it feels like I never really left now.
Yeah, that's the thing with a week-long ban. It's just soon gone, really. Good stuff. So tune into the early bird. It's an hour before this show, or a couple of hours before this show starts.
2 hours.
Yeah, I was correcting myself. So yeah, 2 hours before this show starts on Arwin channel, ARWIJNB here or B Sphere. Any other notes?
Thank you.
Any other things of note before we go to housekeeping? Discord, anything you want to get in early?
Yeah, we got some breaking news, Nathan.
Oh, well, that's the kind of thing I was hoping for. Go ahead.
Well, Mr. Blue, you know about his experiment that he's doing with the balls?
Do I know about... Say that again.
The Cavendish experiment Mr. Blue Marble Science is doing?
No, he isn't. It's not an experiment.
Well, yeah. Excuse my language. Whatever he's doing there. Well, the breaking news is, Nathan, he detected, apparently, the earthquake in Haiti the other day.
That's lovely.
Yeah?
Yeah, that's lovely.
Now, apparently, it's supposed to be isolated from everything, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Oh, I see the irony. You're saying, even though it's not an experiment, even though it's not got a valid phenomena to be observing, even though it's been superseded by an Einsteinian pseudo-Ramonian force-space-time bending, it's supposed to be isolated, notwithstanding all of the current objections and 106-year out-of-date staleness that this has got whiffing of.
Correct, yes. You caught the irony. Beautiful.
I see. So it's so well isolated it picked up an earthquake some distance away. Marvellous. It's still not an experiment.
Oh, no, absolutely not. But I just thought I'd bring it to, the attention of everybody.
Yeah, Bev just put the link to the YouTube on this in Master Beef, so just for your knowledge.
The link to...
The blue marble thing he's referencing.
Oh, I don't care about that. I'm not going to link that to people. Sorry, Blue, if you're watching.
I'm not saying you should.
It's not an experiment.
I'm not saying you should. I'm just letting you know it's there.
I see. So the dusty old, in name only, Newtonian gravity was superseded 106 years ago by Einsteinian pseudo-Ramonian force space, and that would be the notion that the uneven distribution of mass causes that dimension to bend. That's the current rhetoric of gravity. Sod all to do with mass attracting mass. It's debunked by gas behaviour. So gas expands in all directions to fill the availability of volume. It does not go down at 9.8 meters per second towards the mass of the centre of Earth. That does not occur. Hence it was superseded. It's debunked by gas behaviour. So him trying to assert that his balls in a shed are somehow proving that mass attracts mass? No, it isn't.
Well, you're going to need R for that anyway.
What, centre of M1? Yes, indeed. You're going to need R for that. So might as well start there. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Well,
What
that's
is
what I was asking. The description of gravity
No.
in Einsteinian, like what is that? Is it? 'Cause I mean, if you don't have an accurate description of something, if I'm describing like water boiling as the air farting into the water, can I take that into the scientific method?
Yeah, you've got physicality to it, but I've already told you that this isn't something described in the physical. This is something described in the abstract. Pseudo for space. So, can I give you an accurate description of it? Yes, I can. The uneven distribution of mass causing the pseudo-Ramonian for space-time to bend. There you go, there's an accurate description of it, but it doesn't make it physical in any way, shape, or form.
Can I note something here? You asked for scientific evidence, and for people that aren't really paying attention to the topic as much as some of us are, consider what I'm saying, and then, you can either try to disprove it or go and do. Here it is. So neither Einstein nor Newton actually presented anything as scientific evidence, specifically. It's not like they said, this is scientific evidence for gravity.
Indeedy weedy, I found no hypothesis. Any more on gravity? Anyone from Discord?
Well,
Thank you, SE Montreal, by the way.
My pleasure, Nathan.
I was just going to say in the Einsteinian description, though, like space bending around M1, that means you're going to need a radius for, the mass of M1 for something to bend around.
Or to put it another way, you're going to need R for that, right?
Damn right you are.
Well, it's as good a place as any to go next. Right, any evidence of Earth radius?
Only horizontally, if you're navigating across the plane. It's not necessarily a shape radius, though. It's just the distance you'll travel from one point to another.
Okay, any evidence of...
Assume that the equator is the circumference and then calculate it from there.
No, that's not what he's saying. He's saying within a certain circle you can travel, and then you could call the point that you travel to the edge of the circle that you drew would be a radius. That's what he's saying. But he also disclaimed that he was describing it on a flat plane, so it doesn't mean a great deal. Yes, you'd navigate across the flat plane. Big shout out to all the people who are currently picking up with, as they well should, 10th Man's nice detailed explanations of how sextants work, and only work on a flat plane. So you've got Mitchell from Australia who's covering this, Brian's been covering it, Flatzoid's been covering it. More power to all of you. Hopefully people will understand it. It's not the most simple topic to understand. Triangulation is not an easy concept to just immediately get your head around, but with a few explanations, hopefully from people who have got a good knowledge of the subject in the first instance, you'll get your head around how it can only work on a flat plane, given that the bottom of a triangle to do triangulation has to be flat, and to get 90 degrees you can't achieve it on a curved surface. So, yeah. Any more for any more R value?
Show's over. That's it, folks. Pop the champagne.
Shout out to Jules.
Just going to say that they can assume that the equator is the circumference of the sphere and calculate the R value that way.
We'll come back to that. I'll just shout out this super chat. Jules Lutz says, why are Globers always wrong about everything? Because they're not on the bloody ball. Very good. Yeah, but number one, that requires you to presuppose that you've got a R value capable of derivation by the movement of those celestial bodies that is actually a sphere radius. But even if you take those observations and plot them and derive a radius from it, you've still got a radius similar to what was being described a minute ago by Eli. You know, you've still just got a flat circle with an R value. Well, whoopee-doo. Unless you assume that's on the outside edge of a spherical surface. What good is it?
Well, Black Swan
That's
took
true.
care of that outside. The Black Swan took care of that outside version of it.
Yeah, you're not going to be going antipodal unless you can curve around something.
Good morning, guys.
Hey, Chocolate.
Hello.
Yeah, there's only one radius, and that's on a plane from the circle of equal altitude, from the point where the GP of the sun, star, whatever it is, to your point where you observed it. And the ballers hate that radius, so they have this other one that the Black Swan destroyed. So, you know, if you lost a teddy bear, you'd like to have another one. So here we are, giving you the true radius.
Pick a radius, any radius.
No, we're offering them a conciliatory radius so they don't cry. But they don't like this radius because it's on a two-dimensional circle.
Each triangle that you're drawing could have that triangle rotated. So if you imagine that on the flat surface you've got a triangle with a 90-degree angle that meets the GP of the star. So directly below the star you've got a straight line going up. And then out from that you've got another arm of a triangle. Yeah? So the 190-degree angle goes up to the star and straight down to the ground. The other moves out to the side. But you could spin that triangle or that 90-degree angle in a circle. Yeah? Like a compass. And you draw a circle with it. Well, inside that area, that's what Tenths is describing when he says we're giving them a compensatory radius value. Well, yeah, you've got a radius that you can draw beneath the GP of each star, and where they all intersect will meet your fix, your position, once you've triangulated with them. But each one has got a circle that you could draw around, like with an imaginary compass, that gives you a radius for the area of equal altitude for that star.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, Brian.
Afternoon, guys.
Hey, Adam. Any more for any
Nathan,
more on radius?
I just sent you some pictures of Master B. You can show the audience.
Me.
And thank you to Brian and Tent and Adam, Quantum too. Can't forget Big Boss Man, Sleeping Warrior. So thank you guys for being helpful over the weekend. Appreciate it.
No worries, Eli. It's a pleasure.
Exactly. This picture, 10th, thank you very much. So you've got S1, S2, and S3. I think it was Brian that originally popped this up, or it was the first place I saw it anyway. So that's what I'm trying to describe when I say there's a line going up for your first part of the triangle from the star. And if this was actually doing a triangulation, you would be at this point that I'm circling on screen now in the centre of these three triangles. And with your sextant, that's your first angle that you're going to draw. So you're basically pointing your sextant out to the horizon, getting the angle to this star, which is going to be called S2 in this example. But that's then got a flat, straight line from the GP of the star to your position. And what I was trying to describe earlier is if you span this, so if you imagine you've got your fingertips up here and you spin this circle around like a compass, that's what it creates. And this is called an area of equal, or circle of equal elevation or equal altitude. And at the centre of that circle, which is what the conciliatory R value that was being mentioned earlier by 10th, that's this. That's the R values. That one arm of the triangle, the bottom arm, becomes your radius of that circle of equal altitude. You need 3 of them, and where they all 3 intersect will give you your fix on a flat plane, not capable of being done if this line is bent. Thank you for the slide.
Yeah,
No, you
they
can't.
they must be parallel, right, Brian?
Yes, exactly. Exactly, Ken. And all radius lines have to be straight. A circle is a 2D surface. No matter what way you put it, it's 2-dimensional. It's flat, that means. And all radii and all radii and diameters are straight lines. You can't get away from that. So it can't work on a sphere. It's not that it possibly couldn't. It can't.
Shout out to Retro Bill. He says, Blue Marble Science is like a father to me, and George Netanyahu is like my slobbering granddad. Very good. Thank you very much for the super chat, Retro Bill. Exactly, Brian. It cannot work on a curved surface. So, although this isn't trying to depict it on a sphere, it's just giving you an overall circle. I don't know why it's even drawn in this way. You know, you can ignore this particular circle, because what you've now got on screen is the depiction overhead, or trying to look like it's overhead, of the 3 circles you had represented here. So you're looking down on them, and then as you can see, you've got the 90-degree angle, but in this case, instead of the arm coming out and meeting your fix, it's just coming out to some arbitrary position on this circle of equal altitude for each of the GPs of these 3 stars. Whereas on this diagram, which is much better, it's the one, like I say, that I got from Brian originally, each of the arms meets your fix position here. And it's fair enough on this. It's still got, showing how it's triangulated at the fixed position on this diagram. So this was originally the best we had from 10th. Still very good depiction, other than I hate the circle, the blue circle. It's like, why is that there?
Well, it serves a purpose, because that's how they want to show it. See, what they got there is 3 circles of equal altitude, but you can see it's got the 90-degree box at the GP of those 3 stars. Well, they're telling you right there that that's got to be a straight line, but they got it on a depiction of a curved sphere. But then you can't put that 90-degree box symbol there if it's curved sphere. And I just sent you another one where we isolate one of these stars. You can see that one. So I like using them together because, as you can see in the one with the sphere depiction, you got a red dot where all 3 circles meet, and that's your fix. Well, they're telling you right there, you need a 90-degree, a right-angle triangle to the GP from the observer who's on the edge of that circle somewhere. It just explodes in their face. It can't be done that way. So that's why that other one, S1, S2, S3, shows how it's actually done. And then I just sent you S1 highlighted, so you can look at that if you want.
I had it up while you were talking. It's excellent. Indeed. So this circle is just irrelevant. I mean, you could very easily say that this is just a 4th circle of equal elevation or equal altitude, because why not? If the star was over this position, your circle would be drawn even bigger with that particular position at the centre of it. And you just have a 90-degree from here-ish. In other words, all of the areas within this blue circle are all at the same elevation, or considered to be the same elevation. In other words, no drop, no curve, no sphere. Won't work if there was. Has to be flat for it to work. Go ahead, whoever that was.
There are 2... Oh.
Go ahead, Adam.
There are 2 incorrect points on that diagram with the ball Earth. The first is that the angles to the stars are drawn as a right angle. There won't be a right angle if you transpose that onto a ball surface. And the second is coming off the right angle, going to the circumference, it's a straight line. And again, it would not be a straight line. So that diagram is technically incorrect to me. There's 2 incorrect geometrically incorrect is what's been drawn on there if you're trying to represent that blue ball as a sphere.
Indeed. It works perfectly acceptably as a crude diagram to show how triangulation works if you rub out the blue circle or just made it all blue, rather than a black circle, a black square with a blue circle to somehow vaguely hint at this working on a spherical surface. Whereas in reality, each of these circles are equal elevation, therefore that's what it's actually representing, this S1, S2, S3 on a flat plane. And it can't not, because the bottoms of each of the triangles have to have a right angle in order for this to be capable of triangulation. So, same thing's depicted here. They've got right angles on each of them, saying this is going to be giving you a right angle. It's like, well, then it's not curving away from this position. So, they kind of give the game away, but they've got to loosely hint at sphericity, right? And that's what this is doing with the depiction. Fine, up until this one came along, which is much better.
Well, that's the beauty that... Well, go on, Brian. I
have 2 points to make. You make a point, and I have 2 points to make.
Okay. What Adam did is exactly what I said, but he said it better. The purpose that they use that one is because of the magic trick. And then he just tore it apart. It's the same thing. You can't have that 90-degree box and have those three circle of equal altitudes on a sphere surface. It doesn't work that way. But it serves for our good because we're able to point that out and show the magic trick with just visuals. So it's not correct, but that's how they've been fooling people. The second set of pictures showing a proper way is the correct way and the only way to get that 90-degree box. So they both can be used. One is to wake up the baller or anti-flat earther. The other one is to show how it actually works. Right.
Thanks, Tate. Yeah, I totally agree with everything you're after saying there. But my 2 points will be, the first point will be on the S1, S2, and S3 diagram. And this is coming from arguments that the ballers have tried, because they want to ignore that the radius line can be hundreds and thousands of miles, right? And the diameter then is double that. So they keep on trying to put an angle onto a curved surface. And they're saying, well, you wouldn't really notice any curve with a small bit. This kind of thing. It's like, no, it's a curved surface. You need hundreds and thousands of miles of a radius often. It doesn't work with a curved surface. You can't get an angle off a curved surface. But what they're forgetting is, if you look at in that diagram with S1, S2, and S3 is, the person is in the center of the point of those three angles, let's say, where they meet, right? But that person is making a right angle, right, with their zenith, right, to the radius line. They make a right angle with their zenith. Because what people are forgetting here is that they show the right angle in the center of each one of these circles, right? They're showing where they only show it on two, but they're implying that it's obviously on the third one. The right angle where the square is at the center of the circles. But there is a right angle at the other side of that as well. So you need two right angles, because you're basically creating like a rectangle or a box, which requires right angles. You can't at their corners. You can't have it any other way. So the ballers are trying to try and work in some angle, right, just out to the horizon, which might only be 3 miles away, and kind of go, well, it wouldn't be that much curve there. It has nothing to do with that. There is curve. It's not an angle. End of story. And it's only you're trying to work, and they're trying to work to the horizon. They're missing the point. It goes for hundreds and thousands of miles, and that's just the radius. The diameter is double that. But more than that, what absolutely kills the whole lot is, Nathan, if you show the other diagram where it's on a sphere, the blue sphere with the 3 circles, soon as you do, thank you. As soon as you do that and change the angles to the center of the globe, then they change the original angles. So that would make doing it and pre-assuming a flat plane pointless, because your angles then to the stars completely change when you change it to the center of the globe, of their globe, I should say. So they're changing the angles, the original angles that are taken with the pre-assumption of flat and horizontal.
Hold on. Give clarity. Yeah. Hold on. Got to start distinguishing this. No, they don't. This is how it's actually done. So when you say what they do is distort it and show that it's going to the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth, what you mean is
no.
Anti-flat earthers distort and claim that you can do it that way and then show it depicted that way, but it isn't actually done that way.
Well, no. The point is that they put they change it and put the angles to the center of their sphere out, and then think that the angles are the same angle. They're not. The original observer would have 3 different angles to those stars then. That's my point. As soon as you put it into change things to the center of their globe, because they have to go to the center and bring a chord line, an imaginary chord line through the center of their globe at their equator. As soon as you do that, then you're instantly changing the original angles. So it would make doing that, would make your original angles completely pointless, is my point.
I have a rebuttal.
Hold on. Because I've actually found it now, just for Brian's point to be made. I've got it on screen now. So yes, what Brian's describing is how on this diagram with the blue circle, we'll call it, you've got an actual 90 degree to each of these positions, because it's not assumed, it's the way it's actually being done, that there's a 90 degree angle to be acquired. In other words, this whole area, if you can consider all of that as being measured, is all flat. Right, ignoring the blue circle, just drawing out each of the circles' outline. All of that's flat and must be for this fix to be acquired. Then we move over to what the anti-flat earther would represent it as. They take a zenith reading, and the only thing that's going to give you 90 degrees for an accurate measurement is going to be this line that I'm drawing my mouse along now, from your zenith out at 90 degrees. However, when you then take the measurement of the angle to the zenith position of each star, the angle then changes because it's meeting a point that has dropped away from that zenith position originally. In other words, this depiction on screen now, with chords, they're not actually drawn accurately as chords, but nevertheless, a slice of the sphere being taken off for GPA and GPB means that you've no longer got the same GP angle for star A when measuring it from your zenith position, because this isn't creating a 90 degree. Even with the chord that they've drawn, it changes and alters the angle. Sorry, go ahead, whoever said that. Unless, Brian, did you want to add anything? I don't know if you can see this on screen on the live stream.
Oh, yeah. All I would say is that if you look at from the observer's position there, and you look at the red arrows, and then you come down to the center of their globe, and you look at that angle, right? That angle there, right, might appear to be the same as what the person is seeing from the surface, but the person on the surface then has a completely, when you bring the angle down to the center of their globe, that widens out widens out the angle, widens out the angle. So you end up with the stars being in 2 completely different positions. So that's what I wanted to say.
Exactly, it doesn't match. But the point is, and I'll go back to it, that's why I brought it up, just so it didn't sound like I was hand-waving your point, which is accurate. They don't do it this way. This is not how it is done. So this anti-flat earth rhetoric, all right, it works like this on a sphere, and it almost matches what? The triangulation done on equal elevations. They don't do it that way. They don't do it in this manner. That's not how it's done.
No, but they'll show it in books and things to do with the sextant. They'll show it like that. But in reality, they'll have to use flat.
Yeah, this is how it actually is done, and cannot be not done this way because of the 90 degree required at the GP, that's the point at the bottom below each star, on the ground below it. So when you've got that star 90 degree to your position, if you were here, now obviously you're not, you're here. If my mouse would work. You're here. So therefore, it's the GP of the star. Now, spherical reasoning means that you can only achieve a zenith if you are at that position. But each and every one of S2, S1 and S3 have all got a zenith that's 90 degree to your position. Not attainable on a sphere. Sorry to keep reiterating this, but it is worth repeating it again and again and again until people have it drilled into them. Whoever it was, I think it was John, go ahead.
Was it?
Yeah, I'm sorry that I had a screaming kid there for a second. The baller in me kind of kicked up for a second on the you can't get the angle would change from distance. Well, in their paradigm, it'd be like the Tycho Brahe defense. Well, for the angles to remain the same over that distance, the stars would have to be an astronomical distance away, right?
No, that still doesn't work.
Add to that.
No, that still doesn't work when you transpose it onto the curved surface. So it alters the layout of the land. Do you want to expand on that, Brian? Because that wasn't cemented in my mind until you detailed it in a video about 2 or 3 videos ago. Do you know what I'm talking about?
You thought about the 2D and 3D.
Yes.
Yeah, it alters the layout. Not only does when you put the angle to the center of the sphere, does it alter the original angles to the stars, which makes the original angles which would make the original angles pointless. But secondly, the circle that you create, the circle of equal altitude, is a 2D surface. So when you place that circle onto the side of a sphere, what happens is the diameter of that circle in distance, which will be a distance measurement on the Earth, that diameter will be less than the arc of the sphere that resides within it, because the arc is curved within it. If you straighten out the arc that's within it, it'll be longer in distance than the diameter. So the 2 points.
Just stop a second. Just stop 1 second.
Yeah.
I just want to show what you've done a good job, excellent verbal description, but I just want to show depictorially what Brian's just explained. So where my mouse is now pointing at on this flat circle that's been chopped off this sphere, between my mouse and point A is a straight, flat line in this depiction with what we'll call, for ease of description, a chord drawn across this line. So this line's flat. However, when you then plot that onto the actual position that is claimed to be on a curved surface, you've then got an increased distance between point A and where I started with my mouse. I'm now drawing it out for the audience's representation of how this line is now bowed where it was formerly a chord, if you will. A straight line then transposed onto the actual land mass on the map would then be at a different geographical position because the distance has increased significantly based on this depiction, where you've got thousands, if not tens of thousands of square miles of flat depiction in this circumference that's then going to be bulging back out when you plot it onto the land. Hope that's clear. Sorry if I've taken lots of time, Brian, but I want to make it absolutely clear what you're describing when you talk about this line, which is straight in this depiction, then being bulged on a curved surface on the plotting of that position. Feel free to continue.
Yeah, I actually will. Yeah, I will, and I'll actually give you a diagram that you can use to depict that. That's what I'll do. Easier than this one. Yeah, no, you basically laid it out, Nathan. At any point on that circle, from any point on that circle, the opposite side of that point will be the diameter, and that will always be less in distance than the arc that will reside within it. So consequently, where the circle will touch the sphere will be a much bigger distance than the straight line chord distance, let's just say, through the circle. The best way to explain it, right, is take the globe Earth mathematics. Take the diameter of their equator. It's like 8,000 miles. But the arc of the globe that resides within it and goes over the top of it from any point on it, over and through their North Pole and back down to the other side, or down and through their South Pole and back up to the other side, that will be about 12,000+ miles. So you're talking 4,000 extra miles. So the circle of their equator, right, the diameter of that is 4,000, maybe a bit over 4,000 miles less than the arc of the curve that resides of the arc of the globe Earth that resides within it, above it and below it. So that's why the distance across a 2D surface will be less than across will be less than where it will meet on the 3D. I'm after kind of getting a bit sideways. Where it will be less than where where any point of that circle meets on a 3D spherical surface.
That's perfect.
Spherical surface. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. Quick shout out to Jules Lutz again. He says, is that right? Geocentric empires were run by emperors. Kingdoms were run by kings. These days, countries are run by... Over to you, Brian. Thank you very much for the super chat.
Can I share a couple of things?
Crooks. Countries are run by crooks.
Temp, have you seen what I just posted? I've just done a little...
Why don't you go ahead, Adam? I'll go look, and then I'll finish up afterwards. What I was
just to exemplify your first triangle. So I just stuck it in Photoshop and tried to bend the base to be on a ball. And hopefully you can see.
Hold on, have you posted this in Master B? Because I've got a picture of a nice sailboat under a load of sun rays.
I've screen shared it for you here in Google.
Yeah, Master B are mine, but
It's in
Adam's
the
got
war
it
room,
on
sorry.
screen share right now, so I do see it, Adam.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just messing about, but it's just hopefully exemplifies the point that the reason we can use geometry to calculate these things accurately is because we're using geometry, right angles and straight lines. As soon as we try and put that on, we can do what Brian's done, which is to create chord segments and chop domes off of a ball, etc., etc. But the way in which they're pretending they're doing it is by not having right angles and having bendy R's. And it's just a little picture just to kind of exemplify how nonsensical it is from a geometric and geometry point of view to claim what they're claiming, because that's what they're claiming.
I love it. The one on the left looks like he's been left out in the sun.
Speaking of the sun.
Oh, did you leave
done,
my
Adam?
triangulation diorama on the radiator?
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, excellent work there. The article that I posted with the S1, can you go to that, Nathan?
Yes, it's up.
Okay, all right, I'm going to go to my version here. I can read it. All right, so if you go to the middle of the first paragraph, it says, using a book containing known reference values for the star in question at the time of measurement. So the book is the Nautical Almanac, known reference values for the star in question at the time of measurement, not calculation, measurement. It is possible to determine the distance r along the surface of Earth to the point at which the star is exactly overhead. That would be its GP, known as ground position or geographical position. That's why you can get the 90. But it gets better. From this, a navigator knows he is on a specific circle, not sphere, circle, along the plane of the surface of Earth. So if that doesn't hit you hard, a circle of equal altitude along the plane of the surface of the Earth of radius r, known as the line of position. He does not know his direction from this point, however. By examining a second star, a second radius can be deduced. The navigator now knows he's at one of the points where both the circular functions meet. In the case that there is only one real route, he knows his position, although this is only possible if the radii are parallel. Let that sink in. More realistically, he can look up at a third star in order to find the intersection between three circles. This will give him his location to a certain precision based on the position of his watch, altimeter, and the divisions on the reference table. Now think about what this guy just did in his explanation of how sextant works on the surface of a plane Earth.
Yeah, being parallel is the description of all of these lines along the bottom running parallel. All flat. Non-curving away. It can't work if they curve away. They must be flat. The surface, the area, the radius being described is all considered, measured, and utilising a flat plane.
Yeah,
Correct.
when he says surface, he's speaking about the surface, not a chord line through an imaginary globe. Yes?
Yes, he says it. He says the plane. First he mentioned surface, then he said it again, but he gave it more detail. The plane.
For the geometry to work, the statement in there was quite clear. They're all on a flat surface, a level flat surface, both the observer and the assumed GPs of the stars. That's the prerequisite for the mass you're then going to use to work.
Exactly. The radii, he says, are parallel. So all three radiuses have to be parallel.
Well, there'd be no point in taking angles if you're going to then switch the angle to the center of a globe, which will completely negate your original angles, making the whole thing a complete waste of time.
Much
Why
better.
would you do that?
Much better phraseology. Indeed. As opposed to what they do is bend it when it can't be bent. It's like the anti-flat earth rhetoric. Yum, yum, yum. What they actually do is just basic triangulation with the GP of each star and then a circle around it, and then the point that they all meet is your fix. That's where you are. It's really that simple. And that can't work if it's curved. It's really that simple.
Very good. Also, can you show the two pictures of the sun, Nathan? Tell me when you got the...
One looks like an oil painting or a print.
Yeah. But basically, there's tons of these pictures. And that's a beautiful one, the one with the blue. This is how sunlight, in reality, our eyes capture it. Now, there's countless videos on the sextant. And the one thing they need to even push the light that is coming from the center of a sphere is sunlight has to come in parallel. Well, we know sunlight doesn't come in parallel. We know it's divergent, crepuscular rays. That's reality. So in their little magic trick, they say the sunlight, the stars are so far away, such vast distances, that essentially the light hitting the Earth is parallel. That's why we can take the angle from the center of a sphere, and it'll be the same angle from the top when the observer is just using a tangent line for his local horizon. This is how they sidestep it. But it doesn't work because, number one, we just killed it by how a sextant does actually work. Number two, sunlight doesn't come in parallel. It comes in divergent. So they're just dead on so many points, it's ridiculous.
Quite nice, this second one, because it actually kind of draws out what you'd have. It doesn't have a direct... Oh, it does. Yeah, it does. So you could consider this line as being the GP. Yeah? This is the point on the ground below this. You can use the sun, it doesn't matter, but we're going to say star just because that's what we've been saying, although this is a picture of the sun before anyone jumps down my throat. But this centre line, that gives you the GP. And to triangulate the position of the sun in this regard, the line that's reflected beautifully on the flat water, that's going to give you your position if you're the cameraman standing down here. Right? I know you're not, but just for ease of description. In other words, where this line here that comes down from the sun, star, meets this line that comes to your position, yeah? That's a 90-degree angle here. This is 90 degrees. Yeah? And you're going to measure your angle. I'll come off to the side of the screen, but we're going to say that this down here is your position again. And all you're going to do is you're going to measure an angle up to the sun. And then you've got all three sides of the triangle. But this part of the triangle, from you to the position of the sun in this regard, up through its GP on this line here, that's a 90 degree. And it doesn't matter if this is a star that's considerably further than the horizon. Yeah? In other words, if the GP is long past this point here, you can still draw a 90 degree to it all the way out into the distance. Because it's all flat.
Nathan, I got some pictures for you that will do you more justice if you'd like to.
Cool. Very cool.
I was going to say, as a disclaimer to all this, this is a pretty complicated argument if you don't understand it. So, like, I wouldn't necessarily, if I didn't understand this argument, I wouldn't necessarily use it on, like, you know, someone you didn't know.
Basic. Hello. Did you want to add something? Hello. ASIC. ASIC. Can you hear us? Well, this is fun.
So, John, open mic.
Let's just mute him.
Yeah. So, John, say that again, because I've shared this with regular ballers and they get it.
Well, do you understand the argument, though?
No, I just shared I just asked a question. How do you get an angle? It's so basic. How do you achieve an angle? Just type it in. What's an angle? It tells you what an angle is. It needs two straight lines meeting at a corner, creating a vertex. So you get an angle.
Well, it's even worse than that, Tent, because you need two right angles. You need a right angle for the zenith of the celestial body, and you need a right angle at your zenith.
Right. That's the GP, your GP, and there's where the square would be, and the sun's GP, where the square would be. There's your box, your rectangle, and yeah, it's over for them, because all you got to do is ask him what an angle is. What's an angle? How do you achieve an angle? Just that, I remember Bev was on the show once, and he says it's in the name. It's self-explanatory. An angle are two straight lines meeting, creating a corner. I mean, you have to be stupid not to get this.
Is Bev not here? I can't see because I've got the photography up. But Bev joined earlier.
No, he's not. He's not on the show. But if he's listening, come on. Come on.
Bev join?
Yeah, he can join.
Are you here, Bev?
Oh, this is. Yeah, Bev's top dog on this topic.
No, he's not here. He
Well,
was here earlier. Sorry, go ahead, Brian.
I went through some of this with Bev on one of his hangouts the other night. He didn't know what to make of it because he didn't have much trust in it. So I said, look at it, look into it a bit more. You'll hear more about it himself and the lads over there, Buster and them. I said, look into it a bit more. And I said, you won't be disappointed. I said, because I said, the circle, like let's say when you use 3 circles of equal altitude, that means it's 3 straight lines to the GPs of each one of those stars. I said, so all this rubbish from the ballers who are claiming, you know, this rubbish where they start claiming that the old spherical excess triangle, where you have this melted triangle that's not a triangle anymore on the side of that sphere, that this completely blows that out of the water, because this is a triangle on the Earth that's presumed flat and works all the time. It can't work without being flat. So there is no spherical excess triangle nonsense that some of these mock surveyors come out with. So I said that to him, and I said, look, give it a bit more time, have a look into it. I said, if you throw it out the window, you'll regret it, I said, because in time to come, you will eventually see the point of it, because it's growing. More and more people are getting the argument. So...
Well, Bev knows what an angle is, like nobody's business. And once he realizes how the sextant works, it's the same angle that he describes real well. So he's going to get it.
Well, that's what I said to him. I said it completely supports his argument, because his main argument is that horizontal and level are the same thing. Now, horizontal and level are the same thing, but the ballers have this other nonsense claim that they get completely wrong anyway, to do with the center of their globe. But the thing about it is that this completely supports his original argument. Horizontal and level have to be the same thing, otherwise sextants don't work, and consequently navigation for hundreds of years with sextants never happens. You know, what's your
argument? Nathan, pop the picture of what the right angle is.
Well, what's your problem, Brian? The navigators just don't understand,
That did need to be pointed out, to be fair, Chocolate. I mean, we haven't had a fundy on for at least 40 minutes, so...
Yeah, I'm getting fundied out.
I
had to say something fundy.
1 second. Did you say it's in Master B, 10th?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, right angle is an internal angle which is equal to 90 degrees. There's your picture. There's the vertical, which is your zenith. And there's the 0 line, which is your horizontal surface of the ocean. And there's the box Brian's talking about. It's going to create a box. It's an internal angle. See that special symbol like a box in the corner? That says it's a right angle. The 90 degree is readily written in. You know why? Because it's obvious. If we see the box in the corner, we are being told it's a right angle. Any curved lines there, boys?
No. And there's a guy in chat called Rob H who's trying to correct me, saying it's not 3 circles of equal altitude, Brian, it's equal elevation. Rob, you need to read a bit more. Because it's altitude, elevation, it's the same thing. There's several different terms that describe the same things, like line of position and, you know, all this.
Yeah, it's a circle of equal altitude is also called line of position.
Yeah, but
So what they're going to do is try to... What they're going to try to do is... Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, he's trying to say that I'm wrong by saying call it the circle of equal altitude, as if no one else calls it that other than me and you. It's like, no, that's what it's called. What is it? He said, 1 second, it's the circle of equal elevation. I mean, yeah, it might be called that as well, but it's also called the circle of equal altitude. It's in the official writings of it, the diagrams, the stuff.
Altitude is elevation.
Yeah, that's fine. Like he's trying to correct me on something for absolutely nothing, and it's not. He's wrong to correct me because I'm correct.
Why does he come on here and try to correct somebody?
Yeah, come on in. Come on in and correct me.
It's one of these anti-flat Earth positions again, I'm afraid, I think, because certainly on a flat plane and the way the calculations work, it's the same thing, isn't it? Altitude. Yeah. But on a ball, unfortunately, it isn't, is it? Because elevation and altitude would have different, particularly with regards to the geometry we're doing here. It would actually, it on the ball, it misplaces them, doesn't it, by the drop value. So it would have an impact, and again, rendering the calculations and that useless. But there is a difference on their model, but not on ours, the way we use it.
But Rob H is actually, like, I mean, he's actually one of Nathan's channel members.
No,
so it could be a flat Earth.
I'm saying it's a ball, it's a flat Earth denier position. To attack it like that is, again, just to deny that your own model would fail significantly. That to use that, I can say, use that definition against the flat Earth model. There is no indictment there. It's the same thing. But if you transpose it to the ball, it's not the same thing, and it would have an effect on the calculations.
May I give a little insight here? So when the navigator's in the ocean doing this, he doesn't. It's impossible to put this on a chart because the circle is so big. The radius from the GP of the sun could be 3,000 miles, and the circle is obviously with a diameter of 6,000 miles. And it's right in the middle. And he doesn't know where on the circle he is until he does a second circle of equal altitude with another star. And so where the 2 points meet, he's in one of those two positions. So you can't put that on a chart. So what they do after they shoot the star off the horizon and get the angle, they convert the angle, each degree is 60 nautical miles. So if he shoots a star and it says 50 degrees with the sextant, he has to minus that from his 90, his zenith. So that's 50 minus 90 is 40. 40 times 60 is 2,400 miles. So it's 2,400 miles, and he knows where it's at because he's looking at it. Then he goes into the Alt-Az in azimuth, and from the north, on this chart, he brings the arrow down until it finds that bearing. Now, that's a horizontal system, the Alt-Az. It's 0 at the horizon, 90 at the zenith, and it's the height above measured in degrees. That's what altitude is. Height above horizon measured in degrees. It's a horizontal coordinate system. So yeah, Bev's going to love this because it's horizontally based. So you get your bearing, you go to your charts and say, this is my bearing. But at first they had to guess where they were from yesterday's position. So they do a dead reckoning, like I think I'm here today, you know, with the tides, and I may have swerved off 20 miles or something, but I think I'm here. And then they go through their math and they find their actual position. So Yeah, you can't put this big circle on a chart. So when it comes down to once you get the azimuth, you bring it back to where you think you are, and then you go through all the steps that they show on how to, on your chart, know exactly where that fix is.
Indeed.
So I got some more slides there on Master B. It's just all self-explanatory. But there's the last one is a picture of a protractor, which what is a sextant? They all call it a glorified protractor. Well, what do you see in this protractor?
Angles.
Oh, you see a zero line from left to the 90, and then zero from the right to the 90.
Right.
And then a straight line on the second reading is 180. So a straight line is 180. So when you're on the boat, you minus dip to get your eyeball to the ocean level. So you're 9 feet above the water. You take your angle, you minus it, and there's your 180. There's your zero to the horizon. You need a straight line. Can't beat it. That's how a protractor works. That's how a sextant works.
Nice. Another quick shout out to Jules Luds, who says 140 watching. Smash the likes. Indeed. Yeah, smash the like. Thank you very much for the super chat. That's 3. Really appreciate the support, Jules.
I'd like to just ask a question quick.
Feel free, Eric. Who did you want to ask?
10th. So I'm not able to listen or to get the visuals while you guys are speaking. So and also I can't go back and watch the videos very often because they're pretty long. But so I am listening, and I'm trying to learn while listening, and I think I get it pretty well. But if 10th could, I would like him to just give me the elevator pitch on how the sextant works, like you could quickly explain it to a layperson, because I think that would really help. Because I think it is pretty basic, but you can like expand into how it works overall.
I don't know.
All right,
man.
I'll give it my best.
I don't know if you can get this into 60 seconds, but the challenge is on. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think I can. It's an elevator speech. I'm a salesman. Come on. You got to know how to do that, right? A sextant is a glorified protractor. It measures angles between two objects. So if you were on the ocean and you say, okay, where's the sun right now? Well, that's one object. Well, since you're in the middle of the ocean, you got to know landmarks. What's the other object? Well, it's the horizon. So you bring the sextant with the double mirrors, you bring the sun down to the horizon, and it tells you the angle of the sun and the exact position over the earth it is. So what's your two objects? The horizon and where the sun is in degrees in altitude. So sextant needs 2 straight lines, because where you are is a navigator taking to sighting. That's where the corner meets, and you are the vertex. That's how you get an angle. That's how sextant works. You can't get an angle with the bottom line being curved. So it can't work on a curved surface. Do you understand?
I wouldn't use horizon as an object.
I wouldn't say this is a simple subject.
They say it. I'm using their language. I stole everything from the way they say it. I don't want to be accused of putting my own words. So I say circle of equal altitude because that's what they say. I say it's a glorified protractor because that's what they say. I say it's angle between two objects because that's what they say. And they die with what they say.
It's easy when you understand it. Like 10th has this, so like it's very easy.
There's a guy in the chat called Level Guy who's been basically dogging us out all through the whole hour on the sextant, and he won't come in or whatever, but he said his last comment was that to someone else is that that what was it he said? Yeah, did you only use the angle to get your I think it's latitude, he said. Not that losing his comment now. 1 second. Yeah, it was. Where's these? 1 second, I get these comment now just before.
You got 20
Well, you
seconds.
find
Then.
Yeah, but the whole point is that, like, how do you know your latitude and longitude? How do you get that? You have to triangulate your position, yeah, using angles. He's trying to say that we're talking a load of rubbish. He's trying to say there's no such thing as circles of equal altitude, basically.
Okay, with that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, and all that good stuff. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on either Premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!